Hello everyone, welcome to Really Good Crochet. My name's Ali and today we're going to be learning all about the linen stitch. Now the linen stitch, sometimes called the moss stitch, is a fantastic little stitch because all you need to know how to do is the chain stitch and the single crochet. That's using US stitch terminology. If you're using UK stitch terminology, that's the chain stitch and the double crochet. Now, if you don't know how to do either of those things, don't worry. I do have an introduction to crochet lesson which teaches you how to do both of those things, and I'll link to that in the description box down below. Now, we like to take our time around here, so grab your favourite brew, pull up and get comfortable, and we'll dig in. Now, I'm using some DK yarn from my stash today. I've got some dusky pink here, and I've got some cream yarn as well. You can use any yarn of any type, in any weight, of any colour, and it will produce a cloth that is drapey. That's one of the fantastic things about this stitch. Even if you're using acrylic yarn like this yarn, it's a brilliant little stitch, so it's always a good one to have in your armoury. Now, let's just move that over here. That's it. Now, you're also going to need to have a couple of stitch markers. If you're changing colours, you're going to need a pair of scissors, and you'll need a tapestry needle for weaving in your ends. Since I'm using DK yarn, I'm going to be using the recommended 4mm hook size. Now you need to start by making a slip knot. You can make your slip knot however you make yours. I start by wrapping the cut end around my hook finger twice. I have two loops, front loop and the back loop. The back loop is put over my front loop. The front loop is pulled all the way over my finger. And then I pop my hook into that loop and tighten down. Make sure that it's never too tight that your hook can't move. The hook needs to be able to move freely. Now with this particular method of making the linen stitch, you need to make an even number of chains. I'm going to start by making 22 chains. So yarn over the hook, pull through for 1, yarn over the hook, pull through for 2. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, sometimes beginners find that their chains can get a little bit twisty. I find that if I pinch my chain between my thumb and my finger, it doesn't matter if it's your forefinger or your second finger, then that should keep your chain nice and steady and straight. Twenty-one, 22. Let me just count to make sure I've got that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. Now the first thing that you need to do is you need to get one of your stitch markers and pop it into the top chain that you've just made there. Normally your top chain would be for turning, but in this particular case your top chain is your first skipped stitch. I'll show you what that means as we go. Now into the second chain you need to make a single crochet and another chain. So slide your hook into the chain, grab the working yarn. The working yarn is the yarn coming directly from the ball or the skein. Pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops, and then chain 1. Skip that chain into the next chain. Do the same thing. Make a single crochet and a chain 1. So skip that chain and into the next chain. Make a single crochet and chain 1. Skip that chain and into the next chain. Make a single crochet and chain 1. And this is what you're going to do all the way down the chain. So you're going to skip that next chain and into the next one. Make a single crochet and chain 1. Skip, single crochet into the next one. And chain 1. Always remember to chain 1 after your single crochet. Skip that next chain, single crochet into the next, and chain 1. Skip into the next, single crochet. And chain 1. Skip into the next, single crochet and chain 1. Skip into the next, single crochet, and chain 1. Skip into the next, single crochet, and chain 1. Now you've got 2 stitches left. Once you've got 2 stitches left, you skip that one and into the last stitch, make 1 single crochet. It'll look a little something like this. Now, you're going to want to chain 1 and turn, but before you turn, so chain 1, but before you turn, get your stitch marker and pop it under the 2 loops of the chain 1. And then turn. Now chain 1 counts as your first skip stitch. You're skipping over that single crochet there. Into that first chain 1 space, right there, you're going to make a single crochet and a chain 1. So you skip that single crochet, and into that single crochet there, you make another single crochet, and chain 1. You skip the single crochet and into the chain 1 space. So skip the single crochet and into the chain 1 space. You're only going to ever be working into the chain 1 spaces. Let me just show you a little bit more closely. So you're working into those chain 1 spaces that you created as you were working your way down the chain. So these chain 1 spaces here. You're never going to be working into the stitches. You're only ever going to be working into the chain 1 spaces. So into the next chain 1 space, skip the stitches, into the next chain 1 space, single crochet, and chain 1. Skip the stitch, into the chain 1 space, single crochet, and chain 1. Skip the stitch, into the chain 1 space, single crochet, and chain 1. Skip the stitch, into the chain 1 space, single crochet, and chain 1. Skip the stitch, into the chain 1 space, work a single crochet and chain 1. Skip the stitch into the chain 1 space. Single crochet, chain 1. Skip the stitch into the chain 1 space. Work a single crochet and chain 1. Skip the stitch into the chain 1 space. Work a single crochet and chain 1. Skip the stitch into the chain 1 space. Work a single crochet and chain 1. Now, you're not going to have a whole bunch of them, but providing you've put your marker in there, your stitch marker in there, you should be able to wiggle your hook. Sorry, let me just do that again. Under 1 or 2 loops. Doesn't matter if it's 1 or 2. Makes absolutely no difference. And make a single crochet right at the end there. And take off the stitch marker. Chain 1. Pop that stitch marker back under the top 2 loops of the chain 1 you've just now made. And turn. Just gonna although I've got a spherical ball in a bowl, because this little desk is a little desk, and I've also got the lead from the light, I do occasionally have to play out a bit of yarn there. Right, okay, and now you can start again, and at the end of this row I will show you how you can change colours, but you can start to see how this stitch builds its pattern, and it really is incredibly pretty. It doesn't matter what kind of yarn you use, whether it's a variegated yarn or a solid colour. It's just such a pretty stitch. It really is. Okay, so skip the stitch into the chain 1 space. Don't worry about let me just get it over the other way actually, that's it. There we are. Now you can see better. So skip the stitch and into the chain 1 space. Single crochet and chain 1. You're only ever going to be working into the chain 1 spaces, and for that, because you're only ever working into the chain 1 spaces, even though it's only the single crochet that you're essentially using and the chain stitch, it will mean that nevertheless the cloth that you make will build quickly. Because you're not working into a stitch, because you're only ever working into the chain one spaces, the cloth will build quickly. And it once you get used to making it, it will be when you can make it listening to a podcast or an audio book or watching a film, and you will just get lost in it. It's just one of those stitches. It's lovely. It really, really is lovely. Okay, so skip the stitch into the chain one space, single crochet, chain one, skip, chain one space, single crochet, chain one, skip the stitch into the chain one space, skip the stitch into the chain one space, and chain one, skip the stitch into the chain one space, and chain one, skip the stitch into the chain one space, and chain one, skip, chain one space, and chain one, skip the stitch, work into the chain one space, and chain one. Now you've got your, let's take the, oops, slide your hook under the two loops that hook stitch marker was just under. Now we're going to be changing colours, so I'm going to show you how we're going to be changing colours. Okay, so you've got your hook under the two loops, pull up a loop, but don't pull through yet. Wait. Okay, instead of pulling through with the pink yarn, you're going to hook, in my case, the cream yarn over your hook, leaving a nice tail to weave in afterwards, and you're going to pull through with the cream yarn, And then you're going to tighten down with both of those yarns and chain 1. Get the stitch marker, pop it under the 2 loops of the chain 1 for when you come back. Turn. These stitch markers are a bit stiff because they're new ones. There we go. Tighten everything down, that's it. And then you're ready to go with your new colour. So, into the chain 1 space, same as before. Ooh, hang on a minute. That's it. Pull up a loop, single crochet, chain 1, into the next chain 1 space. Always working in to the chain 1 spaces. That's it. Carrying on as we did previously. Sorry, try and keep that in shot for you. Chain 1. Now, slide your hook under the 2 loops, single crochet. Also helps to keep your sides nice and straight. Chain 1, grab your stitch marker, slide it under with all the dexterity of an elephant with 1 paw. There we go. And turn. Let me just lock that. That's it. There we go. And then you can continue. And then you can just carry on straight into that chain 1 space, making your stitch, building your cloth, And as you can see, whilst it's a airy little stitch, it's a close cloth, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Now the linen stitch, or the moss stitch, comes up under both of those names, is one of the stitches that we're going to be using for the first crochet along, which is going to be a stitch sampler blanket starting in February. And it's going to be a super duper beginner friendly project, because it's going to be based on the single crochet, because most people don't realize until they actually think about it just how versatile that the single crochet is, and how many stitches are based on the single crochet, because so many stitches really are based on the single crochet. There we go. And that's the linen stitch. Ooh, let's put that back up there for you. I'll make a bigger piece of cloth later on, but the linen stitch is going to be one of the stitches that we'll use for the crochet along, and there are going to be many others that I'm going to introduce you to, so I'm looking forward to doing that for you. It really is a super easy stitch to use, and using that technique that I've shown you will help to keep your sides nice and straight. If you have any questions at all, then pop them into the comments down below and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. I hope that you enjoyed that. I look forward to showing you the next tutorial very soon. There'll be another lesson going up shortly for another granny tutorial and for the next beginner tutorial on extending your stitches. So for the extended single, extended double and extended half double crochets. So look out for those and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.